Tonight, after the flames and the flight chaos comes the questions. Just why was Heathrow closed for hours? The war of words has kicked off about who exactly was at fault for the shutdown and whether or not enough was done to reopen as soon as possible. So who is to blame?
I think it's pathetic. I really do. And I think these guys are paid probably through the nose, and they should have actually catered for this possibility.
Also tonight, he fell into the Thames after being tasered by police. Today, an inquest decided if police were to blame. We'll talk you through the findings. These driverless cabs could be on our roads in just a couple of years, apparently. And Sally's got another edition of her My Hidden Bit of London series.
This bend in the river has been the start point of journeys of trade, exploration and colonisation.
Good evening. The fire may be out, but the way Heathrow dealt with a complete shutdown of the airport is coming under intense scrutiny, with some suggesting it should never have closed. The company, which connects homes and businesses to Britain's electricity supply, said alternative power sources might have kept the airport going. But Heathrow has defended the way it reacted and said it was left with no choice but to ground flights, as Carolyn Sim reports.
Arrivals and departures were running as normal at Heathrow Airport today. The chaos and disruption of Friday's 18-hour shutdown appeared to be over. It was a fire at a nearby substation in Hayes which caused a huge power outage at the airport, forcing over 1,000 flights to be cancelled and 200,000 passengers to be stranded around the world. But today, the chief executive of the National Grid claimed that could have been avoided. He told the Financial Times newspaper that there were 2 other substations available. There was no lack of capacity from the substations, he said. Each substation individually can provide enough power to Heathrow. What happened on Friday was extremely rare, but Heathrow's now being accused of gross failures in planning. The fact it took so long to power down and reboot its systems, critics say exposes Heathrow's lack of resilience.
Right next to Heathrow, there's a data centre which is just opening right now. That will eventually have an electricity supply 4 times that of Heathrow, and they do have 100% generation backup. So if they lose their electricity supply, they never go off. Their generators immediately kick in. So I think there's a valid question to ask about, not just for Heathrow, but for the UK as a whole.
Passenger Marion O'Neill was stranded overnight in Taiwan. Her flight to Heathrow on Friday was turned back after 3 hours. She can't believe it.
I think it's pathetic. I really do. And I think these guys are paid probably through the nose, and they should have actually catered for this possibility.
But Heathrow bosses said today that safely restarting operations after disruption of that magnitude was a significant challenge.
I spoke to the chief executive of Heathrow myself on Friday morning. He explained to me at that point in time that there are multiple sources of power that feed the airport, but the scale of the disruption meant there were particular problems, as I understand it, in Terminals 2 and 4. They had to reconfigure the power supply.
The government has ordered a 6-week investigation into the shutdown to find out what needs to be done to ensure that power at Heathrow and all other airports won't be lost again.
OK, but if fire were to break out again, of course we hope it doesn't, but do you get any sense that Heathrow would cope any better this time round?
Not at the moment, no. They'd still have to shut down and reboot many of the systems before power could be restored. And the technical changes that would need to be made to avoid that in the future would be extremely costly. We should add that power supply issues were known about 10 years ago, and they were discussed in a report which said that main transmission line connections to the airport were a key weakness of the airport. Those are the kind of issues that are bound to be discussed in both the government's report and Heathrow's own one.
OK, Carolyn, thanks very much. The family of a man who died after falling into the River Thames after being repeatedly tasered were told by the coroner it could not be certain the actions of police caused his death. Aladeje Omishaw died after a confrontation with two officers on Chelsea Bridge. Well, Cafe Pata was at the inquest in central London. Caf, what more was heard in court today?
Charlene, I'm just a few metres away from Inner West London Coroner's Court, and I can tell you it was a very teary end to today's inquest. Before we go on to what the jury actually decided, I think it's going to be helpful if we give a bit of background about what happened to Deji Omishaw. Now, on the 4th of June 2022, police received calls about a man standing in the middle of Chelsea Bridge Road. These 999 calls were played out during the inquest, and with the court's permission, we've been able to acquire them to play them tonight.
There's someone in the middle of Chelsea Bridge Road, just standing in the road, shouting and screaming about "in the name of God," and he's holding something that looks like a screwdriver, and he's just standing right in the middle of the road screaming. He's obviously very, very unwell, but I wouldn't want to walk past him, and he's at risk of getting run over too.
That was Dr. Deborah Padfield, one of the 999 callers. She did give testimony during the inquest, but separate to that, she spoke to me last week about what happened to Deji Omishaw.
So my first thought after a while, when it still continued, was to phone the police. And as I think I said at the inquest, I really wish I haven't. I really wish I hadn't. How does someone who clearly should be in hospital end up in a river and subsequently dying? And I can't make sense of that.
Now, as you heard in that interview, a lot of regrets from Dr. Padfield about what happened to Deji. Throughout the inquest, it became apparent that what she and other 999 callers said about Deji being mentally unwell was not passed on to responding officers. PC Takiyaboy, he's the one who discharged his taser. He maintained throughout court that even if this information had been passed on, he would not have changed the way he responded. He said he thought Deji was a terrorist, and he said he did what he did to protect his colleagues and the public from harm. Well, today the jury found that it could not be concluded that the actions of the police caused Deji's death. They did, however, accept that had the information about mental health been passed on, it could have, Charlene, it could have impacted the sequence of events that led to Deji's death. This is not the outcome that Deji's family wanted, and they made that perfectly clear outside of court.
It is not Deji's mental illness that killed him. It's what the police did to him in that moment. And the Met have said they have not learned anything from this. They said it themselves. They would do the same thing again. This should have been an ordinary policing incident. But if the police still feel that this is the way to treat the mentally ill people on the streets of London, then we're afraid that there will be many more like Deji.
Deji's sister Aisha speaking there on behalf of the rest of his family. Now, even though this wasn't the outcome they wanted, this case has raised serious questions about mental health and police use of tasers. The coroner has said that she will be issuing a prevention of future death report to the Metropolitan Police. She will be asking them in that report to respond to her about how they train officers in regards to mental health and the police's use of tasers.
OK, Kath, thanks very much. A 30-year-old man has been charged with murder following a fatal stabbing in Brixton. Troy Ramsunda was found on Brixton Road early on Thursday morning and, despite efforts of paramedics, died at the scene. 30-year-old Ibrahim Goncalves Kumare appeared at Wimbledon Magistrate Court this morning. Now, if you're a regular minicab user, you'll either be pleased or horrified to know that driverless cabs could be on our roads in just 2 years. Uber says the service could be offered to passengers in London following trials in America. But would you be comfortable being driven by a robot cab? Here's our science correspondent, Martin Stew.
In Austin, Texas, the world's biggest cab firm is ditching cab drivers. Uber is offering autonomous rides, meaning there's no human behind the wheel.
This technology that people have been talking about for a long time is now becoming real for more and more people every day.
The next destination could be London.
The UK is at the top of our list in places that we'll be looking to go. You know, in the next couple of years, that's sort of the timeline that the regulatory framework lays out as making that feasible, and we're eager to start working towards that.
So 2 years potentially?
Potentially, yeah.
But that won't be easy. Compared to the wide grid layout streets of Austin, London is a labyrinth.
Come and gone, please.
Dale Ford has been a cabbie for 13 years.
Cyclists go through red lights sometimes. People crossing the road at the wrong time. We can see that. A driverless car can't.
We pulled over for a proper chat about her concerns.
A driverless car's going to be a disaster. And I've heard when it's raining or foggy, their sensors don't work very well. I've heard when an emergency vehicle goes past, they just stop. They don't know how to navigate like we would, you know, so you need a human to do that.
That's where Wave says it can help.
I was recently asked to take a drive around London in a car without a driver.
With Bill Gates as one of its investors, the London-based company is using AI, so autonomous cars don't just remember and repeat routes, but instead think like a human. They claim the system can predict problems more efficiently.
Nearly 90% of accidents and incidents are caused by human error. Wave's AI vehicle intelligence is never groggy, it's never distracted, it's always focused on the road.
It's not approved to drive unsupervised in London yet, but the tech is getting closer all the time. Martin Stew, ITV News.
Still to come on the programme, why it's a case of lights, camera, action for Dame Kelly Holmes in her new role as executive producer. Plus,
you might want to put the kettle on because tonight I'll be talking about the Thames, but also tea.
but first, a newsagent who's been selling papers from the crack of dawn every day for the last 30 years fears his days at Wimbledon Park Station are numbered. Transport for London needs to renovate Bharat Chandarana's shop and have given him a deadline to leave. But the 70-year-old's worried he won't be allowed back and could find the locks are changed. Antoine Allen reports.
This is all my life, this area, everybody.
Opening up for what is most likely Bharat's last week serving the Wimbledon Park community.
I don't know what am I going to do.
TfL want to renovate Bharat's unit and told him he needed to leave in order for them to carry out repairs, with no guarantee if or when he can return.
Because I just cry every day in my heart.
For 30 years, Bharat has woken up before sunrise to sell papers, collect deliveries and be a small but much appreciated newsagent.
This is my baby which I'm going to miss forever.
The customers he served throughout the decades hope their shared support for Bharat could persuade TfL to let him stay.
He's here, literally every day apart from Christmas Day. Whether it come rain, shine, he's here for us and we're here for him.
Always cheerful, opens every day, and we feel we would be bereft without him.
But the guy is desperate, you know. The reason I say desperate is because he's been here for so long. All he knows, his purpose in life is this shop, 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the afternoon.
At 70 years old, Bharat could be retired, but having survived COVID and a stroke, he wants to continue working as long as his health permits. Bharat revealed to me he told his GP that TfL's decision has made him feel suicidal.
Full stop, this is my life.
And your customers are your family?
Yeah, the biggest family. This is my family. They make me laugh.
TfL say they support over 1,500 businesses across the city. But the former MP here believes TfL don't understand how crucial a shop like Bharat's is to this community's small business ecosystem.
But if they put a chain in there, what about the SMEs, the small coffee shops that make up this area, may well be closed down as well? So I'd ask TfL to think again.
Transport for London told ITV News, at Mr Chandarana's request, we agreed to extend his stay until March 2025, without any additional rent being due. This was to enable Mr Chandarana to make the necessary arrangements to exit the unit and pay off his previous arrears. We have been clear that unfortunately he will not be able to stay longer. This portrait made by a customer was meant to be a future retirement gift. Bharat accepted it with pride and a heavy heart because he feels he is not yet ready to shut up shop. Antoine Allen, ITV News.
Now on to our guests tonight. One's an athlete, author and my loose women colleague. They're a BAFTA-nominated actor from East London. They've teamed up for a new film, Solars United. Dame Kelly Holmes is the producer of the film and Leah Harvey is part of the cast in a story about a football club's fight for survival and tensions when a new player arrives.
Welcome to Solars United.
Some wonderful football here from the Solars. Yeah, if they carry on like this, they might actually win a match.
The council's closing our pitch.
What? They can't do that. What?
They said we got a month.
I just don't want this to end, Millie.
Coach, how do you know when it's time to let go?
Oh, thanks both for coming on to talk about the film. I've watched it and I loved it and wanted more, I do have to say. And you play Bills, don't you, Leah? So tell us about your character.
Bills is a natural leader, bit of a control freak, I'd say. Really enjoys grassroots football and is really involved in the community. And we see Bills go through a journey of discovering love and the pain of love in the film.
But it's not just a film about love, it's also about friendship as well, isn't it? Which I think is really quite beautiful. I was trying to think of a film based on women's football that talks about friendship, and the only one I can think of course, is Bend It Like Beckham. I don't think it's been done since then, has it?
I mean, that was 2002.
Yeah.
And this is really like a comedy, and it's sort of Derry Girls meets Bend It Like Beckham. And I think with the explosion of women's football, it's about time we bring something out, because there's been so many documentaries, but nothing like drama or comedy where it brings behind the scenes the personalities. You know, this is so funny, but it's the personalities that bring it alive.
And is that part of the reason why you then wanted to get involved, Kelly? Because we know you in so many different guises, and I feel like this is a new one which suits you, film producer. You know, why is it that you decided to get involved with this?
Well, I'm a big fan of supporting women. It doesn't really matter what it is. And I think that sometimes people need to be given, you know, a step forward, a lift, come behind it. And I'm, you know, obviously sport is a big thing that's close to my heart, but it's more about, you know, you've got Leah, you've got the actors, you've got the team that are putting it together that really want this to explode. What we're hoping is this turns not from just a short film that's going to be shown at the BFI Flair Festival at the weekend on the 29th, but maybe a TV series or a longer film. And I'm just such an advocate for making things happen. If I can use my platform to help other people, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, that stuff is important. And Leah, people know you from so many different projects, and it's great to see you getting involved in this. And as I said at the start, I'm hoping it becomes a series or a film, because I actually did genuinely want more after I watched it. And what was it like for you to be involved in this project?
Oh, it was fabulous. You know, I've been really fortunate to have a career that's kind of spanned so many different forms of media. But doing this one really was a chance for me to get involved in storytelling and filmmaking in a way that I hadn't before. You know, associate producer, able to support it, able to join a team in another kind of way. So it's meant a lot to me, and it's actually, I play football now. Like, I'm part of a grassroots football team. I'm a member. Like, I've joined the community that we're trying to show in this film. I'm part of it now. And so,
because there is, you know, they talk about lesbian friendships as well within this film. And do you think, Kelly, it's important that we show, you know, a range of friendships on screen in a really beautiful way in which this is done?
Yeah, definitely. This is a film about inclusivity, and I think when you talk about grassroots, it is everybody and anyone. And I think that's what I love about this in particular, and why I wanted to get involved, because all the characters are these real-life characters that we know from our friendship groups, people that turn up because they want the social element rather than the physical element, those that want to keep fit, they want to be really good, and they're pushing the crowd, and then you get the others that are sort of like, you know, go, get going. That's what it is grassroots. You get that mix of people, and it's such a lovely concept of the friendships coming alive, but also for grassroots, you have to fight for money, fight for existence.
And all of that is in this film. And it's so incredible that you've put all of this into this film, into this short. And I can't wait for people to see it this weekend.
See more.
And we'll keep our fingers crossed for the future. But actually, you both know London really, really well. I know that you're raised in East London. And Sally, you're here because you've got the next episode of your My Hidden London series, haven't you?
Yes, exactly. So My Hidden Bit of London, where we take London lovers to their favourite bits of London that you might not know much about. And this this week is a tour guide, Rob Smith, who sent me round the bend, literally, he sent me round the bend in the Thames. So here is Rob's My Hidden Bit of London and all the stories it has to do with London.
Cruise along the Thames to this corner of London and you'll find tales of tea, time and even Pocahontas. Today's tour guide actually is a tour guide. From Footprints of London, Robert Smith.
My hidden bit of London is Blackwall. This bend in the river has been the start point of journeys of trade, exploration and colonisation. They started here in London.
But what on earth is the significance of the bend?
If you've ever sailed, you'll know how difficult it is to keep changing direction. You have to change direction 3 times on this bend of the river. Do you want to crash? Not really. So the Blackwall was really important for unloading ships for the East India Company.
So walk east along the Thames and you'll see exactly where. The East India Dock, a spot that's been used for hundreds of years.
So this would have been the entrance basin to the dock, and then ships would have gone in to docks on the other side.
Unloaded, like the Cutty Sark, for example.
Like the Cutty Sark.
That's amazing, isn't it? Rob, this bit's all about tea and spices. Tell me everything.
So through these lock gates would have come tea from China, silk from India, carpets from Iran.
Hang on, I can't get past the tea. I need a cuppa after all this talk, and this crazy cafe nearby is the perfect place.
Cheers, Rob.
Cheers.
We'll drink this and back to it.
This was another scene here from the 1700s, shipbuilding. But today there's something else to see, and the American flag gives it away.
The Virginia Monument is the start place for where Walter Raleigh left to go to found the first English colony in North America. So he sets off conveniently from near where his house is.
Oh, his house is here?
He had a house very near this site.
Perfect.
So a good place to start.
And what about the legendary Pocahontas I mentioned? Well, having married an Englishman, this spot is where she would have landed in England. But
unfortunately, she has no immunity to all the diseases which run around London. And although she makes it back onto the ship to go back to Jamestown, she unfortunately dies, probably of smallpox on the way, and is buried in Gravesend.
finally, go upstream and it's time to talk about time.
We're now standing right on the Greenwich Meridian line, the 0 degree line, which goes right the way around the world, and from which all time was measured from.
And the most amazing thing about this line is that it goes all the way up there and up the building, which I just find hilarious. I don't know why.
They're very diligent with putting the line of the building up there.
Time may have changed Blackwall, but the river remains a constant for its past, present and future.
Well, for me, the story of London is the story of the river. And if I could pick one word which would sum up everything that happened here, I would say voyages.
That was really beautiful, but it's very different London to 5 years ago, isn't it?
I know, during the lockdown, we just wanted to take you back and show you something that Martin Stew, one of our colleagues, filmed. Take a look and listen to this. It starts in Trafalgar Square.
When was the last time you had Trafalgar Square completely to yourself? Parliament Square, completely deserted.
It was just unbelievable, wasn't it? No one there and so quiet as well. But every cloud has a silver lining. Do you remember the weather?
Oh, yes, we all remember the weather that year.
It was spectacular, wasn't it? Shall we have a little bit more?
Yes.
Not quite tomorrow, but all hopes lie on Wednesday. Here we go, let's take a look.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus, the renewable energy company.
Hello again, a very good evening to you. Hope you had a lovely start to the week. Beautiful spring colours there. Things to be pleased about, things to be less pleased about is the weather's not quite as nice tomorrow, but hopefully not awful. Starting off with some fog patches. It's turning cloudier as the day goes on and there are some bits and pieces of rain around. But for Wednesday, looking up again, some warm sunny spells on the cards at the moment. So let's crack on with all the details. A nice end to the day, a lot of clear skies outside, so we're going to see the temperatures drop and a nice recipe for some fog tomorrow morning, some of it which could be a bit dense around Greater London. Most of us will stay frost-free, but just the further south you are, it's getting a little bit chillier, so there could be the odd pocket here or there. Either way, it's going to start off cold tomorrow. Out of any fog, you should get a bit of sunshine, but it's not going to stay. Look at that cloud sinking south once again and bringing with it a few little bits of rain, maybe a bit of drizzle. We're not expecting anything too bad, but probably worth having an umbrella just in case. Highs of 13 to 15, so our temperatures are above average, but maybe feeling a little bit down on today with less sunshine. If you're heading out tomorrow evening, more of the same. That cloud's still staying with us, and we have got some light drizzle here or there. For Wednesday, looking a little bit better again. We've got sunny spells on offer, highs of about 16 degrees, so in that sunshine, feeling really nice and pleasant. For Thursday, we're bringing a bit more cloud, but it should stay dry, and then we're watching this rain here, which is heading our way, likely at the moment, Friday morning. Some blustery showers following on behind, still a few days off. We'll keep you posted. That's it. Cheerio.
Octopus Energy sponsors ITV London weekday weather.
Well, that's it from us. Evening News is next with Mary, of course. But from all of us on the London team, you enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.